What's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Balance changes have been announced for next week, guys. I want to go ahead and jump right into them, but actually, interestingly enough, I put out a video about like 15 hours ago sharing my wish list for the balance changes, and now that it's so close together, I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at the 8 cards that I suggested or requested, and then compare them to the cards that are actually going to be changed. So I want to kind of just put out there ahead of time, 4 of my 8 cards are not on the actual list, so I only hit at a 50% rate, which is really low for me compared to previous kind of iterations of my wish list. The cards that will not be balanced that were on my list are Valkyrie, Giant Snowball, Barbarian Barrel, and Royal Recruits. You will not see those 4 cards on our list today. So what will you see on the list today? Well, a few cards that I didn't mention on my list, so let's just jump right into it. We have the King Tower will be receiving a buff. It's going to be buffed so that its damage is in line with the Princess Towers. It makes sense in their efforts to standardize everything in this game in terms of numerically when possible. And also, let's face it, the King Tower or the Princess Towers, to my recollection, has really never received a buff despite all these cards continuing to get stronger and stronger and stronger, so I'm okay with that. Next, we have a Royal Hogs buff. Royal Hogs, their first attack will now happen 0.65 seconds quicker, sooner, meaning that once they get to that tower, they'll get basically an extra hit onto that tower throughout the duration of their lifespan. They get into their first attack quicker. They've done this buff previously with the Valkyrie, so I think it's actually a good buff because it doesn't sound like much, 0.65 seconds, but when you think about it, there are 4 hogs that will help them even more when it comes to defensive buildings, if there is one. More on defensive buildings in just a second here. So moving on, we do have the Knight receiving a damage buff of 5%. Now, this is a little bit of an indirect nerf, not really, but another option for Valkyrie users out there. So I did reach out to Supercell. They said that regarding the Knight and the Valkyrie, this is not meant to be a Valkyrie nerf. This is not meant to be a fix for Valkyrie. They just want a little bit more time to analyze the data. They don't want to go too far again and nerf her into oblivion, was the official answer. However, me personally, I still stand by my opinion to nerf her a little bit now. Moderation. A little tiny nerf to the Valkyrie right now. But either way, that's not going to happen, just to be clear. Bomb Tower has a rework, but it's definitely a buff. The cost will go from 5 elixir to 4 elixir. 4 elixir Bomb Tower is pretty crazy. The elixir will be now 4. The duration will be from 35 seconds to 30 seconds, so minus 5 seconds on the lifespan of the Bomb Tower. And then the hit points will be minus a third, minus 33%. Now, again, that's a lot of hit points off, but already had a lot of hit points. I definitely think the Bomb Tower will be used now, and especially against Royal Hogs and Hog Rider. I don't think it's a great time to be a Hog player right now, but who knows? The jury's still out. We'll see how these changes are when they go into effect. But that brings me to my next change, another smaller anti, Hog, I don't know, Cannon Cart. Cannon Cart is going to also receive a buff. Now, this was on my list. Of course, they didn't listen to my stupid idea about making it move slow. Apparently, the Game of Thrones comparison didn't really resonate with them, guys, as it didn't resonate with many of you, let's be honest. The cannon lifetime will now be from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. That's the cannon. The second kind of version of the Cannon Cart will last longer. It will transform faster, and it will be immune to knockback. The Cannon Cart, which does make sense because remember, it is a heavy defensive structure, so it will not be knocked back anymore. There's going to be a rework to Baby Dragon. They put it down on their buff list, so we're going to go with that, but it's very subtle. The Baby Dragon can now be knocked back, so that's a nerf to the Baby Dragon by Fireball, by Snowball even. However, the 0.1 hit speed decrease is going to try to compensate for that. So again, I really look at it as a rework. It will breathe fire a little bit faster, but in return, it will be knocked back. It will be able to be knocked back now. Now we get on to the nerfs, guys. We have the Inferno Dragon. The range is going to be set to 3.5 from 4, and now it can be knocked back Moreover, more importantly than any of that, guys, we also will see the knockback reset its beam, meaning that even golem death damage, even a giant snowball, any damage that would cause a knockback effect will now reset the Inferno Dragon's beam. To me, that's a really seismic nerf to the Inferno Dragon. Maybe personally, I think that it might be a little bit too much. I think that maybe just the knockback was fine instead of also limiting the range, but that's just me. No, going back, going on, not going back. Going back, we have the baby dragon. It's going to be a rework. All right, so going forward, we have a Tesla. The lifetime will be shorter, 35 seconds instead of 40 seconds. And also the hit speed will be slower from 1 second to 1.1 second, which might not sound like much, but I think that's a pretty significant nerf to the Tesla. It ought to even further make the bomb tower, the cannon, and, you know, basically the Inferno tower, especially with the Inferno Dragon. I expect all of those defenses to actually creep into the meta now, guys, and a little bit more variety in the defensive units that people choose, depending on their deck. I actually kind of like it, personally. The balloon can now be knocked back. That means that the balloon coming down the lane solo can be countered with the fireball. It's not going to get a direct hit on the tower. However, the death damage will still explode in range of the tower. That's a pretty big nerf to the balloon, and that's something that personally I don't agree with. I know a lot of you, based on yesterday's comments, a lot of you do agree with that, did think the balloon was in line for a nerf. Me personally, I think the balloon has always been an interesting, unique win condition that isn't OP, in my opinion, anyway. Again, a lot of you guys disagree with me, and that's the beauty of these videos, isn't it? That we can disagree and not hate each other. Don't hate your local YouTuber. Okay, I'm just kidding, guys. No one was really throwing hate or shade in the last comments. But I do disagree a little bit with the balloon, especially Lavaloon. I think that Lavaloon, maybe you could argue, was in line for a little buff. This is essentially a little nerf to Lavaloon. So I don't know how I feel about balloon. I don't really like it, but I can understand why, I guess, because they want all the mid-size units to be able to be knocked back by knockback spells. Now, coincidentally, the giant snowball will not be able to prevent a balloon hit. It will still get one balloon hit on that tower before it dies. So guys, that's the whole list. Again, we didn't talk about giant snowball, but giant snowball did get a indirect buff now that it can knock back and retarget the Inferno Dragon. It can also knock back a balloon now. So I think that maybe giant snowball will creep into the meta. However, I think it probably still needs a stat boof in the boof. What am I doing today, guys? It's early in the morning. It's 7 a.m. for me, at least. So I think that it could use an additional buff, the giant snowball. And then we have the barbarian barrel. Again, like I said in the last video, I forget that that's even a card sometimes. I do think that it still deserves a buff, in my opinion. And then the recruits, of course, I went on a recruit rant in the last video. I'll let you go ahead and watch that if you missed it. I won't go on it again, but suffice to say, I do think that recruits need a buff. So guys, that is going to be it. What cards were not included that you wanted to see in this balance change? Let me know in the comments below. And also, how would you rank these balance changes compared to the ones in the past? Are you guys happy about this one? Are you unsatisfied with this one? Again, let me know in the comments below. Huge shout out to Bren Chung, my YouTube partner. Check out his information in the description below. Guys, thanks for watching. And as always, take care, guys.